There is something most certainly in the water today, friends, and it's a giant killer fish. We're setting sail on the Orca and checking out Ravensburger's newest addition to their games based on movies line, Jaws. Joining the likes of Disney's Villainous and Jurassic Park, Jaws is a 2 to 4 player game that follows the plot of the movie through 2 acts. It's also a competitive/cooperative game, but I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's open up the box and dive in. Inside the box, we have the rule book, which is very nicely laid out with plenty of examples. Next up is the game board, dual-sided for both acts of gameplay. The inside of the game box is this gorgeous nautical-themed pashmina afghan, which sections off the game's cards in a compartment large enough to sleeve these. Thank you very much. Another compartment holds the game's pieces, both cardboard and wooden, and the final channel has plenty of room for the character sheets and Orca tiles. Let's set this one up and I'll show you how to catch an apex predator. We're starting here set up for Act 1, which takes place on Amity Island. The players will decide who's playing the role of the shark, and then the remaining players each divide up Chief Brody, Quint, and Hooper as evenly as possible. The shark's movement is going to be hidden from everyone else in the game's first phase, tracked on this movement pad. Their goal is going to be to eat as many of these swimmers as they can, which are released upon the beaches by the Amity event cards. The more swimmers the shark is able to eat, the better positioned they'll be in Act 2. The shark, and I'm trying very hard not to call the shark Jaws here. Is it showing? The shark has 3 actions to spend on movement of both their fins and their teeth. They can move to any adjacent space at the cost of a single action, and eating 1 swimmer also costs an action. To help our cold-blooded friend out, they also have 4 special power tokens which allow them to break the rules of the game a bit, but they can only use each once before having to surrender it face down. This means that the 3 humans in the game will know that the shark used a power, but won't know which one. Before I move on, I want to address directly those of you who just stopped the video to Google, "Are sharks cold-blooded?" The answer is, as you now know, yes, most are. And also yes, I'm aware that the film depicts a great white shark as the antagonist, and that great whites are technically only semi-cold-blooded. They're endotherms, which means they can raise their internal body temperature above the water temp. I've now devoted far too long to explaining away what I wanted to be just a simple throwaway joke, and I hope you're all happy. In Act 1, Brody, Quint, and Hooper each get 4 actions, and they have to split up the jobs of moving barrels from the center of town to the docks, where either Quint or Hooper can pick them up and get them into the Orca, where only Quint can launch them with his harpoon gun at the endothermic non-mammal. If he successfully tags the shark twice, the act is over and we move to Act 2. Each of our other heroes has their special ability here as well. Hooper has a fish finder, which can force the shark to announce whether or not they're in the same water space as him, or if they're an adjacent one. And Brody, while he doesn't have a boat, sorry T-Pain, he can use his binoculars at a beach and the shark must reveal if they're there. Also, Brody can force close 1 beach at a time if there aren't any swimmers there, which prevents new swimmers from being revealed there for 2 turns. While all this is going on, Quint and Hooper can also pick up swimmers from the water. All of this sets up Act 2, which is where the real action takes place. I need to flip over the board though, and there's tokens and stuff on it, so Megan, can you do some editing magic here for me? Welcome to the big blue ocean, everyone. Act 2 takes place on the Orca, and the shark has abandoned their clandestine swimmer snacks for taking out huge chunks of the boat in an attempt to eat our friends. Based on how many swimmers got et in Act 1, the shark has a certain number of ability cards drawn from the deck at the top, and Brody, Quint, and Hooper each have an inverse amount of gear to help them subdue, read bloodily murder, the fish. Every round will present the shark with 3 options for surfacing, and they'll secretly choose one. The crew will then individually choose which section of the boat they want to train their weapons on, and the shark will then reveal where they've surfaced. Any of the crew who chose correctly get to take a shot or stab at them. Finally, the shark gets their turn to attack either the crew or the boat. The shark can take 17 hits before they retire to Davy Jones's locker, and each piece of the boat has its own damage threshold to either be flipped to the damage side or removed from the game entirely. If the crew dies or the boat is destroyed, well, then we've changed the ending of the movie. If all this seems like a lot, it's really not. While I've left out some minutiae, I've just explained the game to you in a few minutes that just as I would to new players actually sitting at the table. The joy of this game comes in the tension. While Spielberg relied on brilliant cinematography, amazing performances by his cast, and the score from John Williams, Ravensburger relies on hidden movement and the camaraderie of your friends. Fortunately, they didn't just fill the game up with clever references and then shove off into the sea. The design of this game is solid, full of interesting decisions and strategy. Coordinating your limited actions as the crew in Act 1 will mean the difference between a hard-fought battle and a punishingly brutal battle in Act 2. That's not to say that if the shark manages to eat all the swimmers in Act 1 that you should just give up. In fact, there's a brilliant use of a mechanic that everyone loves to hate that brings much-needed balance. And it's these dice. I know, lots of players hate dice, and I certainly understand the sentiment. Dice provide randomness, and randomness is the enemy of planning. Gamers who thrive on perfect strategy only to be thwarted by these acrylic and plastic shapes get understandably upset. Here's where I applaud their use in Jaws, though. The shark has a massive advantage throughout the game. They're favored to get a decent number of swimmers before they're caught in Act 1, and that's only going to give them even more work in Act 2. Everyone rolls dice for their attacks, but while for the most part the shark's damage is completely dependent on whatever the dice show, the crew have some mitigation on the table in form of static bonuses to damage on their gear. Admittedly, speaking in generalities, whenever the dice are rolled in Act 2, the outcome is going to favor the crew. Where this game sinks a little bit is in the length, and I am really nitpicking at this point. Act 2 feels outstanding as the shark is slowly picking apart the ship and the crew while they whittle down its health. The endgame, which is to say the last 10 minutes or so, really feels like a foregone conclusion most of the time. Either the shark is so far ahead that you can tell they're going to win well before they actually do, or the crew is doing so well and the shark is rolling so poorly that they can't possibly catch up. This tends to spoil a really great table experience, which is a shame. I'll provide an additional caveat though, that in all of our games it came down to a single crew member standing on one damaged piece of the orca with a combined 3 health left between them and the shark. That game was such a phenomenal end moment that I nearly instantly forgave all the others. Your nautical mileage may vary on that though. Jaws is a nearly frame-perfect exploration of the tension and danger of the movie while avoiding becoming stale or rote. Let's take a look at our checklist. In the box, rulebook clear, non-gender pronouns. Ravensburger does a great job of creating a clear rulebook with plenty of gameplay examples to clarify the murkier points. It also does a stellar job of outlining the differences between the two player groups so you don't have to go digging through a lot to find what you're looking for. The book also uses you to denote the player when it's not specifically referring to the character's name. Iconography clear. There isn't a ton of iconography throughout the game, limiting the game's shorthand to just a few very simple icons. They're all very clear and shouldn't be an issue at all on the table. Packaging well done. The insert in the box, while very pretty, is strictly functional. There are 3 main areas inside the box, and everything will stay put if you baggie all the pieces. There are enough provided baggies for this, and as I mentioned earlier, there's room to sleeve your cards. On the table. Good representation. We're following the plot and details of the movie here, so there's not a single feminine character or person of color to be had. Not one. Component quality. Pretty decent. The game's dice are exceptional, and the character sliders do a great job of holding onto the cards. The wooden player meeples and ships are cute, and while everything else is standard punchboard, there's a unifying visual theme that looks great. Replay value. Very high. The first act's hidden movement will serve to vary the beginning of the game wildly, and the results of that first act will greatly affect the second. Jaws should provide a huge range of game experiences, and so far in this reviewer's experience, there's no game-breaking combination of effects. Which leads me to fun to lose. This one is actually very, very fun to lose. If Bruce the Shark eats a ton of swimmers in Act 1, they're incredibly favored to win Act 2, but not guaranteed. The trio of heroes still has a fighting chance as all the damage done is produced via the dice. Randomness haters don't tone out though. There's plenty of loading of the dice in this game to avoid this one turning into a pure wheel of chance. While licensed games don't have the best pedigree, Jaws neatly avoids the curse by banking on not only a great intellectual property, but also by putting serious thought and balancing into the experience. The dual acts provide a nifty shift on game mechanics, again without feeling gimmicky or awkward. If you like hidden movement and or one versus many, or if you're at all a fan of the source material, this one's currently available at Target for ease of pickup. I'm Nicholas, reminding you to help protect the game population, always sleeve your cards. Hey everyone, if you enjoyed that video, please hit that sub button and check out all of our other offerings at goodluckhighfive.com. And please consider becoming a patron of the channel at patreon.com/GLHFmagic. and help us keep making reviews, videos, and podcasts for as little as $5 a month. We're also always looking for new games to review, so if you make games or you know a company who does and wants to have their game reviewed on Good Luck High Five, please reach out to us at glhf@goodluckhighfive.com and we'd be happy to take a look. You can follow me, Captain N the Game Master, on Twitter and Instagram at CaptainNGM, and follow the channel at GLHF Magic. Remember, please shop at your local game store whenever possible. Until next time, I'm Nicholas, and good luck, high five.